All right, today we're jumping into something big. We're talking about a prophecy that some people believe ties together celestial events, modern warfare, and a single figure who is destined to change everything, the Imam Mahdi. So, what's the connection between ancient texts, what's happening in Iran right now, and this prophesied world changer? This isn't just some old story collecting dust. It's a question being asked with real urgency today. The sources we're looking at point to a whole bunch of signs, all lining up, supposedly pointing to one specific, very near date. So let's get into it. What exactly are these signs? Okay, so the sources we're diving into today get really specific. They're pointing to the year 2026, and they're highlighting this incredible lineup of signs. We're talking things happening in the sky and on the calendar that believers say are a huge signal that something massive is on the horizon. And wow, the level of detail here is pretty wild. According to these traditions, the year the Mahdi is supposed to arrive has this super rare combination of events. You've got a lunar eclipse right in the middle of Ramadan, then a solar eclipse towards the end of the month. On top of that, both the big celebration of Eid al-Fitr and the day of Ashura have to fall on a Friday. And here's the kicker. The claim is that every single one of these things is set to happen in 2026. But it's not just stuff happening in the sky. The prophecies also talk about things on the ground. For example, a loud sound is supposed to be heard on one of Ramadan's holiest nights. Now, the source material we're looking at connects this to today, suggesting it could be something like a massive explosion from a war. And then there's this prophecy about fireballs shooting from the east, which some interpret as, well, modern missiles. It's a crazy example of an ancient text being read through the lens of 21st century technology. Okay, so all these signs are supposedly pointing to this one person. But to really get what's going on, we have to ask the most important question. Who is the Imam Mahdi? Well, in Islamic tradition, the Mahdi is basically a redeemer figure. The name means the guided one. He's prophesied to show up near the end of days. And his job? It's huge. He's supposed to create a new world order built on justice and rule over the entire world. This quote from a hadith, which is a saying from the Prophet Muhammad, really sums up his mission perfectly. He will fill the earth with justice and equity as it was filled with oppression and tyranny. I mean, that's the core belief right there, that he will completely flip the script on the world, getting rid of all the bad stuff and bring it in an age of peace. The texts also give some key identifiers. His name is supposed to be Muhammad, son of Abdullah, just like the Prophet. And this is critical. He has to be a direct descendant of the Prophet through his daughter Fatima. And his whole purpose is to bring all Muslims together and then establish that just government for the entire planet. Okay, so this belief in the Mahdi is a really big deal. But, and this is a big but, not everyone sees it the same way. Actually, the two biggest branches of Islam, Sunni and Shia, have some pretty major disagreements about who this figure is. It really comes down to a fundamental split. For Sunnis, the general belief is that the Mahdi hasn't been born yet. He's a future leader who will appear down the line. But for 12er Shias, it's a totally different story. They believe he was already born, way back in the 9th century, as the 12th Imam. The belief is that he never actually died, but was hidden away by God in what they call occultation. And one day, he'll reappear to finish his mission. And we have to mention there's a third view here, too. Some Muslims are just plain skeptical about the whole idea. And their main reason, as our sources highlight, is that if you look at the two most trusted, most authoritative collections of hadith, that's Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih al-Muslim, there are no direct, explicit prophecies about him. So for them, that's a pretty big question mark. So, you have this incredibly powerful prophecy, all this anticipation building up for centuries. It's probably no surprise that this has led to a long, long line of people throughout history who have stood up and said, hey, I'm the guy. Yeah, this is absolutely not a new thing. I mean, from the very early days of Islam, you've had people claiming to be the one. But maybe the most shocking example in recent history was back in 1979. A man named Muhammad al-Qahtani, along with his followers, literally stormed and took over the Grand Mosque in Mecca, the holiest site in Islam. It turned into a brutal 2-week siege. It just goes to show you how incredibly powerful this belief can be. And that's what brings us right back to the here and now. Because these aren't just historical footnotes. As the source material shows, these ancient prophecies are being used right now to interpret what's happening on the world stage, especially in the Middle East. Okay, so one of the biggest prophecies you'll hear about talks about an army carrying black flags. They're supposed to come from a region called Khorasan, which historically covered parts of modern Iran and Afghanistan. And the prophecy says this army will be unstoppable until it plants its flags in Jerusalem. And this is where things get really interesting today. The sources we're looking at point out that in the middle of all the current conflicts in the region, Iran has been raising black flags over important religious sites and even, according to some reports, on its borders. Now, officially, these flags are symbols of mourning or a call for revenge, but for people who believe in the prophecy, they see this and think, this is it. This is the literal fulfillment of the Black Flag's prophecy. They believe it's the start of that prophesied march. So what we're left with is this incredible mix, right? You've got ancient religious texts, you've got modern military moves, and you have this powerful, deeply held belief in a figure who will change the world. It's so clear that for a lot of people, these aren't just old stories. They're a framework, a way to understand what's happening in the news right now. And it all leaves us with this one massive, fascinating question. Where does the prophecy stop and the politics begin?